Ollie Cross, Chapter 23. The good news, Part 1, was that I got my laptop back again from the police lab. The next day, they dusted it for fingerprints, and I'm not even sure what else, but Dad brought it home for good that night. And no, he told me, Gabe didn't have any fingerprints on record, so they couldn't check that. But I liked that he knew I was going to ask. It meant I was thinking about it like a real detective. The other good news was that Damon's college team, the Davidson Wildcats, were playing Wake Forest Deacons that night, and the game was going to be on ESPN2. I'd seen Damon play a million times, but never on TV. Nobody in the family had, and now he was playing for the same college team as Steph Curry and had put on the map. It was like a national holiday at our house. Dad was even lifting my no television rule just long enough for me to get to see it. I don't think our living room had ever been stuffed with so many people. Samson and his wife, Billy, were there with their kids. We also had Dad's cousin Tia and her boyfriend, and Janie's best friend Shanice, who'd had a crush on Damon since forever. Nana had 2 friends from church, along with Father Bernardine, and a whole bunch of Dad and Bree's cop buddies were there from MPD too. I wasn't allowed to have any of my own friends since I was still grounded, but at least I got to watch the game. Once everyone was there, I took a spot on the floor near the back of the room. It was for a couple reasons. I was tired of everyone staring at my black eye and asking questions I didn't want to answer. Also, it was easier to sit back there and work on my laptop during the commercials if people weren't looking at me all the time. Now that I had my computer back, I wanted to load all my Gabe notes onto the hard drive so I could have it with me wherever I went. "Let's go, Davidson!" Nana called out from the couch. She was all set up with her new app so she could use her phone to track every move Damon's team made, down to the last block, shot, and assist. Anyone who thinks they know more about college ball than Nana Mama is probably mistaken. Still, it wasn't awesome to hear the ESPN guys talking about the Wildcats during their warm-ups, and even better when they showed Damon on screen. "That's Damon Cross, who's been knocking down threes like nobody's business this season," one guy said. "I'm sure Coach Bolton has some high hopes for this sophomore starter from Washington, D.C. Everyone went crazy when he said that, but Nana Mama made us all shut up when it was time for the tip-off. Not that it stayed quiet for long. As soon as the Wildcats took possession, it was like a screaming contest in our living room, and when Damon grabbed a running pass and landed the first dunk of the night, it felt like the whole house was going to come down. He really did play like Curry, and I was hoping maybe Damon was headed for the NBA himself. How cool would that be? I don't think I've ever watched a game so closely as I was watching that one. In fact, I didn't even look down at my laptop until they went to the first commercial break. But what I saw then changed everything. The first thing I noticed on the computer was that it had a screensaver running, which was weird. Usually laptops just go to sleep to save the batteries. Not this one. It had a word rolling and bouncing around the screen. Then I looked closer and saw that it wasn't a word exactly. It was just a bunch of random letters. Q-U-B-U-Q, which is also when I realized, no. Those weren't just random letters, not at all. QUB was Gabe's screen name in Outpost, and QUBUQ was the same thing, forward and backwards. It was also 5 letters long, which is exactly what I needed to get past the combination lock of the door to Gabe's bunker, inside the game. Was I right? Was it really Gabe who broke in and stole our things, and then gave it back? Why would he do that? Where's he living if he wasn't at home? And what kind of trouble is he in? So while some Geico ad played on the TV and everyone else headed to the kitchen or the bathroom, I was sitting there completely zoned in on my computer. This was no coincidence, that much I knew. I put a tingling spidey sense kind of feeling right through me. Gabe wanted me to have this information, didn't he? And he made sure, in his genius way, that I would just be between the two of us. Why else would he go to all the trouble of smuggling it into me like this? In other words, I just got my first really big break in the case.